Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hello, everybody. Today I'm interviewing Brandy Chase, founder and chief executive officer of AssureFile.com, located in the greater Salt Lake City area. Brandy's a realtor and has worked in real estate since 2006, working in transaction management, and has processed over 1,000 real estate transactions, from residential investment, property management, land, and new construction. Brandy works closely with agents to set up their individualized systems and task lists so there are no surprises. She loves helping agents implement their systems or help them build new ones so that the process is professional and consistent. Welcome, Brandy. Thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Great. Before we dive in, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm a realtor and I'm a mom, and I have 3 great boys, and we like to camp and get outside as much as we can. And that's about it, really. My hobby is work.
There you go. Well, on that note, what led you into real estate, and especially the transaction management side of it? Did you know this was something you wanted to do from the beginning, or did you just stumble into it?
I totally stumbled into it. I came from healthcare, so I worked in healthcare, and we had moved to Utah, and I was looking for a job, and I happened to apply for this executive assistant job for this really busy real estate agent, not thinking that I would get it or that I was qualified. And he hired me pretty much on the spot. And then it just went from there. So after I worked for him for a few years, the market crashed, and real estate kept showing back up in my life. So I was like, okay, well, maybe I'm supposed to do this. And then it went from that just to how can I make this something that still works good for my family? I don't want to be out showing houses all the time. I don't want to, be dependent on other people's schedules. I want to make my own schedule and be off when my husband's off. And so I just kind of fell into the transaction management side. So I get to work my Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. So. Okay,
good. That's a good explanation. In terms of what you do, it's pretty specialized. What would you say, your personal attributes, your qualities, traits, contributed the most to your success?
Well, I'm a people pleaser. I really like to, make my agents happy. I like to, make sure everybody's taken care of, and I like to fix problems, and I like to just really help other people. And that's, I think, why I was in healthcare. So I would have never thought I would have come into real estate, even though it is helping people. But anyway, so I think that's what's helped me is I'm just super helpful, and I'm instead of looking for ways how, sometimes when you hand somebody something, they'll say, that's not my job. Well, I find out a way, is there something I can help them with? Is there something? So I come from that standpoint, and I think that's helped me a lot because the agents really appreciate that because they're not in front of the computer all day. They're out showing houses or doing stuff like that. So
can you give examples of how that helped you, be successful, having that particular trait of wanting to help people?
Yeah, because that's the way I work, I don't hardly advertise at all. So I get all my referrals from other agents coming to me from the other side of the transaction. So if we're representing the buyer, they're representing the seller, and they're like, oh, wait, what do you do? You know what I mean? You communicate with me. And so, and then I also get brokers referring me because their agent's paperwork is so clean. So I get brokers referring me people. I also have had referrals from the company that I house all my files in too, the software company. So,
nice.
So I think that's what's helped. I haven't had to hardly advertise at all.
That's nice, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And obviously you're successful, but I think you'll agree that there's no straight line to being successful, right? There's some pitfalls, ups and downs, and Would you talk about some of these major adversities or trials that you had to overcome to achieve your goals?
Yes. There's been, everybody's personality is different, and working with different people's personalities is sometimes challenging, but I try really hard to, because I'm such a good communicator, I have a really hard time with people that don't communicate as well. Because I'm like, I sent you the email, like, didn't you read it? You know what I mean? So I'm learning to come at people like that a different way so that things can go smoothly. And so that's been a hard thing. And then just knowing like when to shut off. I don't know if you read this on my website, but I completely work from home. So since my computer is here and I could work anytime, it's really hard to know when to shut off. So I try to shut off at 5 and be done so I could be with my family. So
I know the feeling. That's probably one of the biggest issue for entrepreneurs, right? I mean, there's no actual work clock that you punch in or punch out. You're always working, right. It seems, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And if I happen to glance at my email, then it's over. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna go take care of that.
There you go. Well, it brings me to this question that I like to ask entrepreneurs, because it's a difficult road. And how do you keep up when the going gets tough? When you hit a wall and you need to regroup, or how do you go about doing that? Help you keep going when it gets tough.
I want to continue to be able to work for myself. That's really important to me. Like knowing that this is mine and that, I've made this. I think it just helps keep me going, because I wouldn't, want to give that up to go work for another person to say you have to work here, and you know what I mean? Things like that. So, and just knowing that I get to help other agents grow their business as well. That's really, rewarding as well.
Good. Looking forward, what's your vision for your business in the next, let's say, 5 years or so?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'm still trying to figure that out. I didn't expect to. I have two. I have a full-time employee and a part-time employee, and then another transaction manager that started. And this was never my plan. My plan was only to make enough money so that I could work from home and be with my kids. It wasn't this at all. So that is my goal this year, is to figure that out and see where I want to go with this.
Interesting problem to have, eh? Growing. That's
yeah, right.
Do I grow? Do I not grow? It's the growing pain. Sometimes working, having more employees and making more money doesn't mean you have more money in the end, right? It's just more work.
Right, exactly. And I don't want that. Like, I want to keep my freedom at the same time. So it's a really hard balance to try to figure out, what direction I want to go in. Do I just stay here, or, but then I have a ton of leads coming to me that I can't, help them all. And so then that's like, what am I doing? So.
No, it's an interesting problem to have. I mean, it's for entrepreneurs. Sometimes it's everything or nothing, right? You have too much work or you don't have enough work. So at this point, you seem to be in the first phase where you have too much work. So
yeah,
interesting
exactly.
issue. Yeah. You mentioned earlier that you didn't really do much marketing because, you had enough referrals for yourself. But let's assume that you wanted to grow, you wanted to get better in terms of getting more customers. What do you think your main marketing approach would be?
I think continuing to provide the amazing service, maybe follow up with the agents that we close on the other side, because we close so many files. That's could be sometimes 60 other agents a month that I could be marketing to that I'm not, that already know that I provide a good service. So I think that would be a good social media, things like that, I think would be good. Just maybe I've even thought of getting certified to teach like real estate classes so that, I could get my name out there that way. I have lots of ideas. I'm just like, I don't know what I would do with more people if I had them.
Right, it's an interesting position to be in, and I can tell you this is not necessarily the most people I speak to that are in that situation. So it's good to be able to say no, right? So
yes, yeah.
Well, now going back to your realtor clients, what's the main problem they seem to have that you see most commonly?
I think it's really hard. There's so much to a real estate transaction. I think it's really hard for them to be, keep on top of all of their paperwork, because there's just paperwork that needs to go in all different areas. And some people get copies of this and some people get copies of this. And I think keeping all that straight and making sure, doing that everybody has what they need to close the file on time. And, they're responsible for all of that and still continue to grow their business at the same time. Mm-hmm. So they're out showing homes, or they're out, at their closing or whatever, and they're still expected to keep up with all this paperwork. So I think, and emails are crazy these days. Oh, so I think that's their challenge. I mean, I think just keeping on top of everything and making sure that their ducks are in a row so that they can go to the closing table and get paid on time.
Mm-hmm. And based on what you do, what are some common misconceptions they have about making the changes necessary?
I don't know that all agents understand what I do. There is other transaction coordinators, but for the most part, they're just handling the paperwork. We go in a lot deeper than that. I'm really involved with the file. I make sure, the other side is doing their job as well. So like if we're the listing agent, then I make sure, that buyer's agent is making sure their buyer is taking the right steps to get their loan done and things like that. So I'm very hands-on and just more involved than just your average transaction coordinator who just collects the paperwork and turns it in for them. So I help them with deadlines and things like that as well.
Good. Maybe now you can talk about some benefits of doing that. That would be interesting for realtors listening.
Yeah, I've actually had some realtors, more than double their business because it's like once you take away that part, that paperwork part that you're constantly like, oh my gosh, did I send this here? Did I do that? They take that out of their head and hand it over to me, and I build that trust with them and they know that we have it handled. Then they have that free space in their mind where they can go get more business. And because of that, that's why I think a good part of the reason why some of them have doubled their business after deciding to use my services.
I had a feeling it's not just financially that it's an advantage. You just don't have this anxiety about handling all this paperwork, because paperwork's not for everybody, right? So it's just...
Exactly. Yeah. And usually I think with realtors, it's a lot of the times it's not like their same person. If you're a good salesperson, I don't think you're always a good paperwork person.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I can vouch for that. Before we wrap it up, what one piece of advice can you give to someone who wants to start implementing a better transaction management system, but doesn't really know where to start?
To call me, of course. I give free consultations to agents, and I help them set up a good system so that it's the same thing every time, and it's their process. It's not just a standard process that I do for everybody. We make sure that we're working with that agent's goals as well.
All right. Well, that was awesome, Brandy. I really, really appreciate you taking the time to discuss this with us and giving us these tips. Now, how can our listeners learn more or get in touch with you?
I'm on Facebook at AssureFile. AssureFile is on Facebook, and then we also have a website, www.AssureFile.com.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much once again, and hopefully our listeners learned a lot from this, and the realtors here, I'm sure, when I talked about having less paperwork, they probably said, okay, I can live with that. So I'm sure you will get some calls. So thank you very much for taking the time. I really appreciate it. Have yourself an amazing day.
Okay, you too. Thank you.
Okay, bye, Brandy.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.